Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote. Hello, welcome to Across the Park podcast. It is the big match preview with the opposition fan. My name is Ian Mills. I'm looking forward to getting into all things this Sunday. Welcome back to the channel from WebbyONeill. Tony, I'm going to have to start paying you, but in all seriousness, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm looking forward to this Sunday, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think everyone is, whether you're United, Everton, neutral. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting afternoon for a number of reasons. One of the first reasons I want to get, Tony, if you don't mind, is your view as a United fan on what's going on with my club, Everton. It was this time last week that we were handed, in my opinion, a very, very harsh penalty with no case law, with no precedent, when there's other clubs seemingly doing a lot more than what we're doing. But that's my Everton hat on it. If you're looking at it from a non-Everton perspective, what was your view on the punishment that we've had so far?
I look at the punishment and think it's appropriate. I think you're very lucky, to be honest. You turn around and say there's no precedent. Well, thing is, as I see it, you pled guilty. But if you go back, I think it was 350 million overspend over a period of time. I think you was allowed 105. You exceeded that. You was working with the authorities. That's my understanding. But somewhere along the line, the authorities were misled and you'd overspent. They were looking into your transfers, guiding you with your buying and your selling and everything else, what was going on. So to me, it looks as though the authorities were hoodwinked at some point about your spending limits and what you were spending, and you seem to have gone over that. So that's how I see it. At the end of the day, I think there was an opportunity, or you could have possibly gone into administration and accepted 9 points. That's how I look at it. That 9 points are there. They've given you 10 points, but the fact is you have pleaded guilty to something which I'm not too sure what the allegation is you've actually done, but pleading guilty gives you actually a bit of sway with the commission, what dealt with it. They've accepted your guilty plea. They've dealt with it, but it goes over a period of time. And if you look at what your spending was, what you was doing, going over the limits, it's actually affected other teams because you was able to buy your way out of a dogfight what you was in over the last couple of years. So you've avoided relegation. That's how I see it, by overspending. And at the end of the day, you've been caught out. Someone has misled, as I see it, your spending pattern, and you weren't forthright in what you was doing. That's how I see it. And when you look at other teams, they ain't accepting anything. They're in big trouble, them teams, when it comes to it, especially if you look at City. Chelsea are unearthing things now. So they're in a different mode to what you are. You're completely separate to what their allegations are. And Everton have accepted and took the punishment. 10 points. Yes, the fans didn't expect 10 points. The club didn't expect 10 points. And as you said, it's the first time it's happened, and you've obviously all disagree with it, which is what you would do as a fan and as a club. You don't accept it, but the fact is, you pleaded guilty, and someone somewhere has misled the people what was actually looking after you and taking you through the process of getting your spending in order.
I think a lot of what you say there is true, but I'd argue with an awful lot of it. And here's the part I'd argue with.
A
lot of what you're saying is true, that there's been a bit of misleading. Everton's finance. We opened our books and we said to the Premier League, look, we're sailing close to the wind here. and here's our books, and we're going to run some transfers by you, and we've got it wrong. But there's a lot of mitigation in the fact that somewhere along the line the rules changed. So the interest that we could have on a stadium development was not going to count towards PSR. We then got told in 2022 that it now would. Now in 2022, Tony, we were so far down the line with this that it was almost irreversible to fix that. We were told of a rule change in 2022, and 5 months later we had to submit our accounts with that in. There's little or no time to reverse it. Not only that, Evertonians, and what I don't usually do is speak for every Evertonian, but I will on this occasion. If I'm wrong, come in the comments for me. No one is denying that we're guilty. What we've been doing as a supporter, as a fan base, is trying to out that board for a number of years. We exposed them first. We said we're not happy with what that board are doing to our football club. Now, the problem I've got, Tony, is I don't think the punishment fits the crime for a number of reasons. The first one is Portsmouth, a number of years ago, got 9 points for basically saying we can't run this club. We're going into administration. There's going to be staff losing their jobs. We've wiped our debt and we can start again, basically. They got one less point than us for that. I don't think that's fair. Now, when we come on to the Big Six, and I've never asked your opinion on this, but we'll bring that in. The Big Six, in my opinion, who tried to demolish the domestic game, they were allowed to come back in with a £3.5 million fine. Is trying to demolish the English game and the entire structure and not give a damn about anybody else. Is that not worse than a £19 million breach?
There's a lot there to soak in, to be honest with you. Is that not worse? Is that better? Is it worse? I'm not really too sure. You can debate it till the cows come home, to be honest with you.
Fair.
And I think we'd still be here talking a week later if we what's right, what's wrong with the Big Six. And at the end of the day, are they the Big Six? I think when you look at the football structure and the way it's going, it's all about money anyway. So every team wants what's there. And at the top of the table is the money tree. And the money tree is European football. You've seen it there. People wanting the Super League, everything like that. Principles, morals. Listen, they went out of football many, many years ago.
Agree.
And if you look at Everton are fighting for their lives, and I've been fighting for their lives to stay in the Premier League. They seem to have, with what you're saying, they seem to have opened the books, admitted this, and the rule changes come in and caught you on the hop. It's caught you on the hop. That's the way to go at it, really.
Do you understand, Tony, the fans' frustration? Do you understand that sometimes as a fan, you take right and wrong away from it and you react emotionally? Can you understand the noise that we're making?
I understand the noise you're making. I understand the hurt and the deceit, really, when you've just explained it to me, that the rule change come in 2022 and has caught you and give you 5 months. I understand that, and it is very annoying, and it would upset anybody. But what can you do? The rules are there. They ain't going to change the rules just for you. That's how I see it. Unfortunately, for every Evertonian, I can't see the rules being changed. And what I see, it isn't the Premier League what's actually give you these 10 points. It's an independent commission.
Correct. Yeah.
What's give you the 10 points. And they've looked at all the rules, all the evidence, any mitigating circumstances, everything else like this. So it's not actually, as I see it, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that it's the Premier League what stuck it right up you. It's this independent commission which takes it away from the Premier League. So this is the problem and the battle you've got against this independent commission. And I don't think you'll win.
It's interesting. So the Premier League, Tony, they wanted 12. They recommended 12. And the reason it went to the independent panel is because we said absolutely no chance. And you've probably not read the case, but we've had lots of mitigation. We blamed certain things which I think were quite easy to blame, such as COVID-19. I don't quite agree that you couldn't trade players because there's examples of clubs trading players. There was the Gylfi Sigurdsson scenario where we couldn't sell him. We could not sell Sigurdsson, and rightly or wrongly, that player would put goals on the board and he'd get you more prize money, albeit maybe not £19 million. You'd certainly sell him for £19 million 2 or 3 years ago. Lots of mitigation, and the big frustration for me, and this is not a witch hunt on the top six. It sounds like it is, but it's not. But when the top six got that punishment, the Premier League cited that it wasn't fair to punish supporters. So all the calls, and they weren't right calls. The calls to relegate them and give them mass fines and transfer bans. The Premier League said we can't do that. It's not fair to supporters. I don't see the difference in this. We've outed that board 2 years ago. We've been trying to out that board. They're now gone. They're selling the club. It's the fans who are going to suffer. Do you think, Tony, now that this judgment opens the gates for the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea to be worrying?
Listen, if you was a Manchester City fan and a Chelsea fan, quite rightly you'd be worrying. But what City, well, I know for a fact Manchester City are delaying and using tactics that this won't get in front of any commission for a long, long time. They're arguing about certain people being adjudicating on a board against them. They will argue about everything. They will spend money and keep this at bay for a long, long time. They are admitting absolutely nothing. You've admitted a charge. You've been found guilty. Well, you was guilty. You've admitted that. City have got 115 charges and are denying everything. So this will run and run and run and run. And what I see, and I was talking yesterday, to be honest, with Webby and with Kieran, my son, and we look at it that they're hoping that football changes down the line. European Super League comes in a different disguise. The money will be too much and things like this will be taken out. You don't know where Saudi money's going to come in and change football. You look at in 5 years' time, will football have changed? I think it will. I think the money is just getting too big, and the power of someone like the Saudi League and the money what's coming in, and they want to be in the European League. That's what they're looking at, and everything else will change. So delay. Everton, hands up. We've been caught. We've been misdemeanored in some way with money, and we plead guilty to it. And you've been dealt with, and you've been dealt with by a commission. And quite rightly, you point out 2022, the rule change, it's caught you out. I can't see any way out of it for you, no matter what the fans do. I know you talk about your board. You've not been happy with them for a long time. You try to out them. You want to come here to Old Trafford and look at our board and look at our owners and all that. You've been at it a couple of years. You should have been at it a lot longer and then understand what we've been through. Fans do not matter. That is the point. You've all got to understand. You can shout and scream as much as you want, and at the end of the day, you're just a customer. That's what we are here at Manchester United, and you will be told what to do and get on with it. And because at the end of the day, the money is the main thing, and that's what owners want, and that's what the football has become. That is the problem, and that is what yous have got to understand. And you, as a fan, Ian, are going through the pain like every other Evertonian. And if you think this is pain, you want to wait. You want to really talk to a United fan and understand the pain what's coming to you, because you've got no pain yet. There's more to come.
I think there's a long way to go. I think you're right. What you said, there's a long way to go. Now, I want to get into the noise and the shout, and I want to get into that at the end of the show, because we're talking about Goodison Park and we're talking about your away fans who are going to come as well. I want to just touch upon your season so far, Tony, because we've done this a couple of seasons now, and we always talk about, where you are currently. So from the outside, I'm looking at United, and I'm looking at 5 points off the Champions League, places I imagine that you didn't expect to be at the position in November. 7 losses. Now, the losses to me, Arsenal, Palace, Brighton, City, they spring out. When I've watched the mainstream media, which is how I see United, through the mainstream media as a non-United fan, it feels to me like each of those losses have caused more frustration with your fan base. Would that be a fair point?
Frustration depends which type of fan base you're looking at. I mean, there's different types, isn't there? There's people who just watch online. There's people what go to the game. There's people, there's all the frustration. I think the media creates that frustration. And when I say the media, I mean every outlet what talks about Manchester United. Anything you do, listen. If Eric Ten Hag drops a box of matches on the floor, it's news. Everything is news at Manchester United. And they just pile in. And once they pile in, Ian, it does not stop. I'm used to it. So to me, it's like water off a duck's back to me. and I understand what happens. As a United fan, I look at it and think to myself, great. I love it. I love it when the media come at United, because United have always been able to turn it round and go back at them and prove them all wrong. But this is difficult. At the moment, this is difficult because the start of this season, I did not envisage the amount of injuries we've had to key players. And they're not like injuries what are lasting for a week or 10 days. These are going into months, and it just keeps happening. And the media are pinpointing anything. We've got aging players here. We've got like Varane, always injured and that, and the Storm. This is typical of the Storm. Oh, Eric Ten Hag and Rafael Varane have fallen out. It's carnage. It's chaos. Well, look, the man can't get in the team because he's always injured, right? And he will be out at the end of the season. It's time to move on. Was he a good buy? Well, you know, it's up to the individual to decide that. I thought he was a good player at first, but obviously the injuries are carrying up. But now the battle with the media is trying to put Eric Ten Hag in the light as though he's fighting with every player, as though he fought with Ronaldo. He didn't fight with Ronaldo. Ronaldo was going, right? But Ronaldo was fighting with the club. And Ronaldo, listen, he thought, I can do what I want. Well, Ten Hag had a bit of discipline going in the club, and he couldn't be seen to be letting a player win the battle against the manager. We have the same scenario with Sancho. Now we have players and the discussions from the media saying Casemiro's going, Casemiro's injured, Rafael Varane's injured. Well, really, at the end of the day, they're older players anyway, but it's a battle. The media wants to disrupt and destroy Manchester United, but Manchester United's too big to be destroyed.
Do you know when I watch you guys on let's say Sky Sports, and it seems to me that every time you lose on Sky Sports, Gary Neville, Roy Keane, the poking the bear, and they make it look to the outside fan, the non-United fan, they make it look like you're in chaos. Are United in chaos? Does it feel like that as a United fan?
Well, you're using Gary Neville and Roy Keane as an example. Listen, go to Micah Richards, go to Carragher. Just go to anybody when United lose. Anybody. And it's like, this is a disaster. Yeah. He needs to go. He's playing rubbish. Eric Ten Hag doesn't know what he's doing, this, that, and the other. You know, some of the results, what we've lost, have been bad. Some of the performances have been bad. We've won games, and United fans will tell you straight, how we've won that. You know, look, Wolverhampton Wanderers at home, Nottingham Forest at home. I don't know how we've won it. We was poor. But I have said consistently on this channel, me and Kieran and Webby, that you will not see a Man United till after Christmas and into the new year because of the injuries. And to be in the position we are in now, going to Everton, and if we beat Everton, okay, then we could be just 1 point off the top four, depending on the other results. So considering how rubbish everyone says we are, that we're in disarray, the club's in chaos and everything, if we beat Everton on Sunday, what's the problem? What is the problem when we've got people coming back over the next month, over the next 2 months from injuries? I don't see the problem. I think we'll go into the new year with all these injuries back. And if we beat Everton and then we get a decent result at Newcastle next week, I think we're in a good position.
It's every football fan. This affects every football fan, doesn't it? You're one victory away from feeling good.
Yeah.
And we're the same. You know, if results go our way this weekend, we're out the relegation zone. And it's
there you go. There you go. Now that might quieten you down if you beat United.
It won't.
Happy days. No, well, the thing is, you're in a good run. I think you're in the best run for about 3 years, to be honest with you. And if you look at Everton, you talk about the best run. I mean, you're in a position here. You've been playing well. Yes, you've had this 10-point deduction. And listen, the way you've been playing, by rights, you shouldn't have any worry going down. The reason why you've not gone down in previous seasons is because the teams what have gone down have been absolutely dire. Okay. That's how lucky you are. Yeah. Everton, listen, I've watched Everton. I've been going like football since 1969, 70. And I'm telling you, this is the worst. Last year was the worst Everton side I've ever seen. And to stay in the Premier League, right? You should have been dancing right through the summer in the streets because you was poor. And I mean really poor. This season, you've turned it around. You've got it together. Sean Dyche's there. I think he's the right man for you in the situation you are. He might even be the right man further down the line, right? But listen, I'm telling you, you should all be happy because if you beat United, I don't see what your problem is. Just ignore the 10 points, get on with it, get yourself back as a fan with the club, work together, and away you go. But to be honest with you, you won't beat United. I don't see it. I think the pressure, what you've got, what you're putting on yourselves, and I think that what you do, put the pressure on yourselves, has been one of your problems for the last couple of years. The way you put pressure on the club, on the teams when you're playing at home with all your marches, all your demonstrations. I think it's actually affected you and done you no good. Whereas I think if you look at this year, you've been pretty mild, sort of accepting, right, let's see where Everton are. Let's see where we go. And because of that pressure is off, they've been playing well. They've been fighting for a point, which is then turned into 3 points. So there's a difference. You put yourselves under pressure and have done for the last 3 years, and it has not helped that team out there at all. That's how I see it.
What I'd do, Tony, is I'd flip that around for this Sunday. And now, I agree that there's elements of Goodison Park has not been an easy place to play for our players. There's been a number of outsides. There's been marches, there's been protests. And what there has been, Tony, there's been division in the ground between some fans who don't want to march, some fans who do want to march. What you're going to get on Sunday, excuse me, for the first time in a number of years is togetherness. You're going to get the Evertonians who are going to make it. And when you first came on our channel, Tony, you talked about going to Goodison in hot atmospheres and you've loved being there. This Sunday, Tony, it's going to be an absolute bear pit. Today, Friday, there's protests in London outside the Premier League headquarters. Evertonians have gone down from Liverpool to protest. There's going to be a march before the grounds. £40,000 has been spent on banners inside the grounds. There's a chant that's going to go on that Sky Sports have already said they're going to have to mute because of what it's going to say, the message that it is. It's going to be a bear pit. You've been there as a fan at Goodison Park in the past. This United team, to me, from the outside, not the United teams of teams gone past. I'm not going to disagree that United are a better team. I'm not stupid. Manchester United are a better football team than Everton. But it's going to be a bear pit. Is that going to be a problem for your side on Sunday?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Some of them players have got like World Cup experience, winning the World Cup, things like they've been in big games before. Manchester United, they're prepared for this. It might be a little bit of a shock at the beginning, but listen, it might be a bit of a shock for your own players. Are they ready? Never mind Manchester United players. Have they experienced anything like it? Because what you're saying, everyone's together. And that's how it should be. Everyone together, back in the club. No one's happy with not one Evertonian will be happy with it, and that's good. And you talk about divisions within your fan base and all that. You're always going to get that in every fan base because everyone's got a different opinion of how you approach certain things. So at the end of the day, marching is fine, but on Sunday, everyone is together and doing the right thing. But fans of every club will always be divided. It's when it turns nasty, that's when it's wrong.
Look, get me in that ground on Sunday. I cannot wait. I've got the bit between my teeth, and I know loads of Evertonians have. Let's take the most out of it, Tony. How do you see it going Sunday? What's your prediction?
I think United. Listen, I think it'd be a tough game. Always is a tough game. You know that. You know, you go on about the atmosphere and that. But I just look at the centre forward. You know, we've got Hoyland there, out injured, and Martial doesn't seem to have a care in the world. He's not bothered about anything. He just doesn't seem to be able to do it. I don't know where the goals are going to come from. That's why I look at it as a tight game for United. I'm going 1-0. I've been going 1-0 the last couple of games. We just can't score goals. I don't know where the goals are going to come from. That's my problem about Sunday. So I think it's going to be a tight game. We're going to try and keep possession. I think when you look at Everton, they're just going to come straight at us. I can't even tell you who I think is going to be in the team because of the amount of injuries and that. We've not got I've not had an update on all the injuries yet, but I think United will struggle to contain Everton. I don't think Everton have got anything to lose. I think they'll just come straight at United and keep coming at United. I think it's going to be difficult for United to keep hold of the ball up front. That's why there's a battle in the midfield and at the back. I think it's going to be tight, 1-0 for Man United. Yes, the atmosphere, as you say, is going to be hot. It's going to be electric, but I think it'll calm down because the way Everton don't want to lose, Man United don't want to lose, but Man United can't score goals. Everton want to score goals. So I just think it's going to be a tight game, and I think the atmosphere will calm down after about 15, 20 minutes because I can't see United going all out attack, and it'll just slowly fizzle out the game, and it'll go. I've seen some Everton games where it's fizzled out. I mean, I remember being at Everton, I took my grandson when it was 4-0. That was a different day. That was the worst Man United side. That was the worst Man United side I've ever seen. 4-0 at Everton, and then I've seen it like 1-1 draw, and it just sort of becomes a bore fest. But I think the pressure will get too much for Everton at the end of the day on Sunday. I think with the expectations of what's coming, then the game starts. And I think the excitement and everything, and then the realisation that there's a game of football going on here, and United, I'll just try and keep possession. That's what they've been trying to do without actually creating chances. And the chances they do create, unfortunately for United, they're not putting them away. That's why I'm going for a 1-0.
You mentioned the previous score there, and that's a score that's in my brain. Not 4-0, 1-1. I can't get 1-1 out yet. I think.
Yeah. That one, the crowd that day at Goodison 1-1, it was quiet, it was mundane, it was a bore fest as far as I was concerned. I mean, it was chaos how United, how Everton got the first goal anyway, but it just didn't live up to its expectations that game. And I think that's the way it'll go. It could even end up 1-1, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that one. My head saying 1-1, but I'm going to go with my heart. I can't do a show this week with the environment the way it is amongst Evertonians and not speak from the heart. I think United are going to crumble. I think United are going to crumble. I think Everton will win 2-1. I do think United will score, and I think United will be in the game for large parts, and you'll have the ball. I do think that the crowds are going to play a massive, massive part. And I don't look at this United team as I've looked at teams in the past. I think Everton have got to take this chance against United with injuries. We're playing you, I think, at a good time to play it because you haven't got the strongest team out. You can't field your strongest team. We've got to go for your second half, Tony. I can see it being 1-1 and Everton getting a second half goal. That's how I can see it. That's how my heart can see it. But I wouldn't rule out 1-1.
You know, when you go on about the atmosphere and the crowd and everything else like that, if it was a Saturday, I would go along with you about the crowd sticking with the team and the atmosphere being all the way. But because it's a Sunday, I don't know about how you think and about how people out there think, but sometimes Sundays, yes, you're up for the game early on and that, and then it's like it sort of fades out. You sort of get the Sunday relaxation. And you might turn around and say, there's no relaxation. Everyone's mad for it, which they are mad for it. But Sunday, to me, I think it brings a calming influence. And half-time, come out at half-time, Ian. I'm telling you now, this is how I see it. I think it'll all be calm. And then it'll be, well, what position are we in? Are we drawing? Let's just stick at this. That's how I see it.
Look, I wouldn't argue. If we were sitting with a pint and we had money on it, I wouldn't argue with it. But what I will say, Tony, is half the city have booked Monday off. Sunday is going to be electric at Goodison Park. I was watching a little bit of your channel, Tony. Great interviews with Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes this year. I know you always do match previews, match reactions.
We had Gary Neville as well a fortnight ago. That was good as well.
I haven't seen that one yet. I'll have to get round to that. Your hashtag on Twitter, it's at WebbyONeill, and there's loads of stuff coming up. For any Man United fans who are just finding you on the hashtag, are you going to do a show after the game Sunday for them to watch?
Yeah, we're going to do a live after the game. I think we're going to do a live after the game, and we might have another video later on in the evening, but we're definitely doing one. But I can't wait. I love the aftermatch because when people are looking at it and they look at, like, say, a few hours later and that, they have the benefit of not being a fan and putting their emotion into it, because I get emotional and I try to be level-headed and that.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of hours later, you think, oh, I should have said this and I should have
Yeah.
said that, you know, but we haven't got that, you know, we haven't got that luxury of like having a couple of hours afterwards. And sometimes I let my emotions get in front and there's things you forget, but then you come back at it a day or two later and you try and rectify what you've missed. It's great. I love it, me. I mean, I'm 65 now, and I just love the involvement of like talking to yourself. And, you know, we don't really do many of these. And we've been going like since 2020 when COVID come. And really, you're the only one we've like done with. And I think we should do a few more, but then that's down to other people to come to us and speak and whatever. But it's great fun.
Yeah, and we nearly snuck a pint in this week, didn't we? Hotel football. We nearly got to hotel football for the show, and I'm hoping to get there in the future if that's okay with you.
Well, what you do is you get to the game here, and we'll have you here beforehand and after the game against Everton when we play here at Old Trafford. So I look forward to that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, top man, thanks very much. But Tony, it's been great to get you on. I love talking football with you. You made the best team win on Sunday. I'm sure I'll catch you again in the return leg. But Tony, thanks for returning back to Across the Park podcast.
Listen, a pleasure.